and welcome to the 10th Annual Mental Health Awareness Event. For those of you who don't know, my name is Andrea Richardson, and I am the MC for this evening. Tonight, we celebrate living with purpose. The purpose of the Mental Health Awareness Event is to bring together the mental health community with the community at large to educate, inspire, and dispel myths about mental illness. Before we get started, I need to make several announcements. Please take a minute and silence all electronic devices. Bathrooms are located directly outside the auditorium doors. We invite you to continue the celebration following the close of this programming for dinner and dessert at 6:30. Please note the 4 exits in the event of a fire alarm. Please leave the auditorium via the closest exit. We will assemble in the parking lot at least 100 feet from the building. In the event of a tornado warning, the safest place is right here in the auditorium. We ask that you stay inside until the tornado warning has lifted. Okay, now let's get started. Why are we focusing on living with purpose? Well, because the overall impact living with purpose has on our well-being, recovery, and happiness. Let's say you're feeling unmotivated, unsure of yourself, aimless, can't find your passion, directionless, or not clear on what your purpose is in life. Don't worry. Tonight, you're in good company. To help us see the power of having purpose, we have assembled a panel consisting of mental health consumers, mental health providers, and a family member of someone living with mental illness. They will share with us how having purpose and living with purpose has helped them. Our first panelist is Cynthia Dudley. Cynthia is the co-founder and executive director of the Trillium Drop-In Center, which serves individuals with mental illness in Prince William County, After suffering for years with her own mental illness through hard work, she has transformed her own life and devoted herself to mentoring others to achieve stability, recovery, and success in their own lives. She is consistently looking for ways to empower, provide opportunities, and support individuals with mental illness. Cynthia is passionate about her work and her life's purpose. Please help me welcome Cynthia Dudley.
About purpose, but I'm a little nervous because you guys look so far away and I don't even recognize faces in this light. So if I sound a little nervous, I am. But isn't Andrea like the perfect MC? Yeah. I know it's not her purpose, but if she needed a side purpose, she could probably make a gig of it, I think. So I wanted to talk about purpose today, right? Did you guys have one out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you understand why all of those events relate to purpose, then talk to other people about it. And if you didn't get it, then see someone like me, because it all is kind of connected, right? For me, purpose is like a master plan for my life or for anyone's life. And knowing my purpose helps me set my goals in life, right? And what I found out is no one can tell me what my purpose is. For me, it comes from within. And it's a quiet space inside of me that tells me what my purpose is. It's not like external. And it's, I kind of think of it as a guide from my highest self. So for me, no ego is involved. It's just like really clear. And luckily, I found my purpose pretty early, but I'll talk about that in a little while. So the reason I wanted to speak tonight, we were sitting at Panera I was sitting at Panera with a couple of committee members, and I was pitching purpose as our event title for tonight. And I remember being at this meeting in Richmond, right? And it was a whole bunch of professional people, at the table. There was about 40 people in the room, and one woman said, I do peer support at an emergency room, and I'm not sure what region she was in, but it was pretty far away, so I don't know who the lady is. Anyway, she said, I'm doing peer support in an emergency room, and I just want to say that it's so important for people who live with mental illness to find work. Because before I got a job in peer support, I didn't have any purpose. And that, of course, for those of you that know me, that got my dander up, because I don't believe purpose is necessarily related to the work that you do. I know a lot of people that aren't working that definitely have purpose. One person, when I think about those in my life that have purpose, you know, the first person that came to mind was this young lady, Stephanie Flory. Where are you? Where are you, Stephanie? Yeah, she's back there. So she comes to mind immediately. You can sit down. Thank you, Stephanie. So she comes to mind because, you know, she comes to Trillium like once a week, and I've known her for 6 or 7 years. And for anyone that knows Stephanie, you can relate to this. She just like spreads joy and love, and she's always trying to brighten someone's day, and she stays connected to her support network, her close friends, and she just keeps it going, and she's such a blessing. So I think some of you guys can relate to all of that about Stephanie. And the other person, as I was writing my stuff, the other person that I thought of that has definitely had purpose for many years, not always in relation to work, is Ann Gertler. You in here, Ann? Where you at? There she is. So she was diagnosed with schizophrenia quite a few years ago. And what she found was that she needed support, right? And so she took it upon herself to learn how to run a support group. And for about 10 years, she was leading that support group every single week, giving and receiving support. And for me, if that's not purpose, I don't know. Giving support to people that we care about and for issues that we care about is just pretty phenomenal. So you guys all know the story about how Trillium evolved from that support group. So for Ann, it was living her purpose, which is supporting people and being kind to others and understanding where they were coming from. And then it turned into work for her, which is pretty phenomenal, and I think that's a blessing. For me, my purpose came to me early. I was about 12 when I realized things were a little wacky in my head, and I was going to have to spend some time in my life to sort it all out and really become comfortable in my own skin, right? And it was about that same time, in 6th grade, when I was 12, that I was selected to a pilot program in our we called it junior high school. And I was selected as a peer support counselor for a pilot program. So in 6th grade, I went through the training and then helped run the program when I was in junior high, which is pretty fun. But then when I got older, you know, I still had the wackiness in my head. And I was looking for ideas on what to talk about tonight, and Nietzsche came up with this great quote that sort of describes the years that I was working things out for myself, right? And he said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. For me, when I was dealing with the wackiness in my head, that was kind of all I cared about. I just wanted to be okay. I wanted to not attempt suicide. I wanted to not be depressed. I wanted my life to be kind of stable and normal. Now I'm not normal, but you know, some sort of normalcy in my life, you know, instead of feeling so awful all the time and so afraid. So for years I focused on the stuff that was going on. And then, you know, I got kind of lucky because when things started coming together in my head, that was about the time that I met Ann Gertler. And I knew it was time to stop focusing so much internally and focusing externally into life, because I really was okay, finally, after years of feeling suicidal. So when we heard about the money for Trillium, it was kind of a blessing, I think, both for Ann and myself and for Tracy. But for me, it was like my purpose and my work in the world sort of came together, which is pretty phenomenal. So I every single day I feel blessed. And for those that know me well, I think you know that I am totally committed to my purpose, and that's to help people with mental health recovery. You know, if I can lessen someone's burden, if I could help someone, you know, help prevent some of the crap that I went through that was so terrible. You know, if I could just do that with one more person, I think my life is a success, and every single day I feel blessed. So for me, when it's kind of cool, because once you identify your purpose and you commit to your purpose, opportunities and methods for achieving our purpose begin to show up. So when Ann and I committed to Trillium and Tracy committed to Trillium, it's sort of like, you know, it was almost magical. It felt sort of like the universe just wanted us to do it. But I think it was us putting in the work and committing, and then all of a sudden it comes together, which is pretty phenomenal. So I don't know how long I've been talking, but it feels like it's been a really long time. And we have some other really great people to talk to. But I need to leave you with this one really, really great quote about purpose. So you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know. And you are the only one who will decide where to go. And I bet y'all can guess who that's from. Who can guess? Who? Dr. Seuss. Oh, the places you'll go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Our next panelist is Chan Rosado. Chan is a dedicated husband, father, and a die-hard animal lover. Chan is the author of a new book titled My Curse, My Blessing, My Purpose, My Journey Through Mental Illness. His hope is that you can use his story and his struggle to help you or anyone you may know through their struggle with mental illness. He loves exercising, watching boxing, and hiking in the forest. Please help me welcome Chan Rosado.
Hello, my name is Chan Rosado. Purpose is the reason something is done. Finding your purpose doesn't come easy. It took me a while to find my purpose. My purpose changed for me when I left New York 15 years ago, came here to Virginia. That's when I started to pretty much figure out my purpose. How did I do that? I believe what you go to sleep thinking about and wake up thinking about, that's what you need to be doing. Okay, what is my purpose? My purpose, first and foremost, is to give praise to the Creator, take care of my wife, be a positive role model to my kids, be a voice for mental health, and take care of my animals that I rescue from the street or whatever the situation. But thank you very much. I don't have too much to say. This is probably my first time even doing this. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Chan. Our next panelist is Vicki Taylor. licensed clinical social worker. She has worked for community services since 1980. She has provided behavioral health consultation to the county's public safety agencies since 1985. Ms. Taylor is proud to be a trainer for the Mental Health First Aid. She has served the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation since its inception in 1992 as a trainer, behavioral health consultant, and coordinator of the NFFF Memorial Weekend Family Day activities. Ms. Taylor was honored to serve as part of the long-term response team to assist FDNY following the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. Please help me welcome Vicki Taylor.
Thank you, Andrea. Hello, everybody. Hello. I got to talk to most of you tonight as we talked about living with purpose. And a huge heartfelt thanks to my friend Cynthia for asking me to be here tonight. I was very flattered and humbled to be here. I'm one of those people that my purpose just kind of came to me, and it took me a while to embrace it, although I knew very early. I knew when I was about in the 6th grade that I wanted to be a social worker. Don't ask me how, I don't remember why I thought that, but I knew. And with all the idealism that comes with being young, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go change the world. My purpose was really simple, and I can remember it. I just wanted to be in a place where I could help people feel that they're understood when they feel misunderstood, and that they can feel supported. Did you ever set out to change the world? Yeah, most of us have, right? I didn't set out to change myself. I set out to change the world. But I can tell you what happened along the way is that the world changed me. One person at a time. And today, talking to many of you about your purpose, you changed me yet again. So to those of you who took the time to stop and talk about your purpose, I thank you. Now fast forward from my 6th grade dreams of being a social worker to 40 years, okay, maybe more. I've been a social worker since 1978. And I've been at Prince William Community Services for 35 years. And people ask me some days, why do you keep coming back? And my answer is really simple. I love what I do. I have a passion for community mental health. I didn't know that when I came here. I was lucky. I came to go to a postgraduate program in Washington, D.C. This was the first job I could find in Prince William County. And so I didn't really know much about community mental health. But I was hooked from the very beginning. And I believe strongly in creating and sustaining strong public mental health systems to help people on their road to recovery. So I just want to share with you some of the things I've learned along the way from all those people who have changed me. And no, I'm not going to tell you all of it, because it would take a really long time. But I'm going to tell you some of the things that really stuck out to me when I started thinking about purpose. Those one person at a time that helped me understand why I might be here. So I hope these simple ideas will help you embrace your own purpose. So the first one is, I learned early from parents who were very service-oriented that, hey Vicki, guess what, it ain't about you. It was a shock, right? Because we all like to think it's about us, but my parents taught me in so many ways that it's just not about me. And my mom was just here visiting. She's 88. I'm blessed that she's still alive, and we were talking about how important it is for kids to learn that it's not really about you. It's about how you relate to other people in your world. It's about you in your world. It's about you and the connections that you make. One person at a time, making the world a better place, even if it's just for that moment. I've learned from all of you, and I relearn every time I have the chance to sit with Cynthia, that strength and scars can come from the same event, can't they? That things that hurt us the worst can also help us create the greatest strength. We all get beat up in life. We all get battered, and some of us more than others. We talk a lot about resilience, but resilience isn't really about being immune to suffering, is it? It's not that we don't feel pain. It's not that we are like Superman or Superwoman. It just means that in the end, we can bounce back. It doesn't mean that we never feel the hit. The impacts of some of the events that happen to us in our lives never leave us. They never will. But we learn to live with them. And if we're really lucky, we learn to live from them, don't we? I've learned, and Cynthia talked a little bit about this, that people can tolerate all kinds of suffering. That what we don't tolerate well is suffering alone. That if you have to suffer, it's always better to suffer in good company. This is the power of our connection to others, isn't it? It's the power of the peer support movement. It's the power of mental health recovery. It really is true that friends multiply our joy and divide our grief. When all else fails, compassion really is everything. The fourth lesson I've learned is never underestimate the power of a smile. And one of you stopped out there and wrote your purpose was to bring a smile everywhere you go. And Cynthia, you talked about Stephanie, right? The power of a smile. In an article in the New Yorker about people who have taken their own lives at the Golden Gate Bridge, there was a story that has touched me and continues to, and that's why I share it with you tonight. There's a young man who did indeed take his own life, and he left a note. And this is what his note said. I'm going to walk to the bridge. If one person smiles at me on the way, I'm not going to jump. Don't underestimate the power of a smile. You know, I tell you that reading that story has changed my life. I do not go through the checkout counter at a grocery store without smiling at the person ringing up my groceries and asking, how's your day anyway? It's amazing how many people will look at you and say, oh, wow, well, thanks for asking. So never leave your smile at home. Every single one of us can brighten someone's day just by smiling and just by having a kind word of encouragement. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Big lesson, right? My dad was a geologist, so he was a scientist. A great thing about living with a scientist is that they live to prove themselves wrong. It took me a long time to understand that, right? But they make hypotheses, and they are so excited when they prove themselves wrong because it tells them what they need to learn. It was a great way to grow up, not being so concerned about making mistakes. Don't consider being wrong sometimes a weakness. Being wrong just tells us that we still have things left to figure out. And last but not least, I've learned from many of you and from people all over the country that courage isn't always in your face. It's not always bold. Courage sometimes is that quiet little voice at the end of the day that says, tomorrow I'm going to try again. It's that little voice of hope. So I brought gifts for you. If you did not get a little card at the table out there, we have plenty. We all probably looked for quotes. So my quote was from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it says this: the purpose of life is not to be happy. It's to be useful, to be honorable, and to be compassionate. To have it make some difference that you have lived and you've lived well. So if you weren't able to get a card, please see me or any one of our team and we'll be happy to give them to you. I also just want to take 1 minute because I learned a really big lesson working with firefighters in New York after 9/11, and I was working with some firefighters who wanted to help the children of the firefighters who died. And so we were talking to them about books and about reading books to kids. And one of the firefighters said, "Would you read us a book?" And so I saw this book the other day, and if you ever go to Kohl's, these are the ones that they sell for charity. It's going to take me just a couple of minutes to read it to you. And I think it's an incredible book. You're here for a reason. You know, you said, Cynthia, sometimes when you get, your purpose, then things start to jump out at you, and here was this book. So here you go. You're here for a reason. You certainly are. The world would be different without you by far. If not for your hands and your eyes and your feet, the world, like a puzzle, would be incomplete. Even the smallest of things that you do blossom and multiply far beyond you. A kindness, for instance, may triple for days or set things in motion in different ways. It travels much further than you'll ever know, under the treetops, over the snow, till it's wandered and fluttered and floated and twirled, making things happen all over the world. You're here for a reason. It's totally true. You're part of a world that's counting on you. So don't be too worried if some days fall flat. Good things can happen, even from that. Life can be tricky, there isn't a doubt. You'll skin your knees trying to figure it out. But life works together, the good and the bad, the silly and awful, the happy and sad. To paint a big picture we can't always see, a picture that needs you, most definitely. Remember that next time a day goes all wrong. To somebody else, you'll always be strong. And that ball that you lose or that kite you let go could make someone's day. You just never know. So you're here for a reason. If you think that you're not, I would just say that perhaps you forgot. A piece of the world that is precious and dear would surely be missing if you were not here. If not for your smile and your laugh and your heart, this place we call home would be minus a part. Thank goodness you're here. Thank goodness times two. I can't imagine a world without you. Thank you very much to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Vicki. Our next panelist is Colin Hicklin. Colin is a student at George Mason University, majoring in English. He is a gamer, music producer, and a poet who takes his craft very seriously. Colin is an advocate for mental health who credits education as his key to recovery. Please help me welcome Colin Hicklin.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? All right. Good. So we're talking about purpose. When I hear the word purpose, the first idea that comes to mind is reason. Reason to love, reason to live, reason to serve, reasons to wake up every day to go to the 9 to 5 to put food on the table for your sons and daughters. Reasons to move hundreds of miles away from home with no means of income to pursue your dreams. Reasons to follow your spirituality because you know that God got you. We all have a reason to live, or else we wouldn't be living. My purpose or reason for living, well, is quite simple: helping others. Whether it's contributing to my family by helping in the household because of my genuine love for them, or being courteous to my neighbor without expecting anything from them in return, or just finishing my college education so I can one day administer education. My purpose, my reason, my drive, my ambition, my viability is to coincide with my neighbors and provide them any help that is within my reach. My purpose became apparent to me when I was a child. I know all you have heard the saying, the golden rule: treat others as you would like them to treat you. That teaching has resonated with me throughout my whole existence. I wanted to love, I wanted to be loved, when it came around the time to be accepted into colleges I applied for, I picked a subject that I was consistently successful in, English education. This journey began when I started counseling kids in day camps, community centers, and tutoring at Nova. One day I will hopefully become an English professor. My purpose is the ongoing journey that will continue until I'm deceased. A support system is vital when dealing with mental health recovery. You need a helping hand. You need a shoulder to cry on. You need someone who understands how you think and can assist you in maneuvering out of the darkness. I would like to give my thank yous to my support, my mother and father, Christopher and Ingrid Hickland. Will both y'all please stand up? Without them, I don't exist. Without them, I wouldn't have an education. Without them, I wouldn't have recovery. They were with me every step of the way. Even at times when I didn't want support, they gave it because they knew I needed the support. Whatever your support is, love, whatever your support system is, family, friends, counselors, psychiatrists, the church, whoever, any shape or form of love, if a hand is given, embrace it and move forward with them. You are not alone. My mental health recovery has not only played a role in my purpose for life, it has changed my life's dynamic. My purpose has contributed to my confidence and reassurance to complete my mental health recovery. Pursuing Club has definitely ensured my recovery and expanded my vision for success. I want to stress a key component for my recovery, which I hope will or continue to be yours, which is education. It just doesn't stop after you finish high school. In this day and age, academic achievements are tools for survival. Whether it's entering into the workforce or working for yourself, education is a gatekeeper. And I stress to the young and old ones in the audience, continue education. Knowledge is power, and the power is yours. So now I've written a poem about my experience with recovery and my message to those who is needed as the breakthrough. Life is what you make it. Strive and aim high. Recover and have purpose at the same time. Make room for those who support you. Be cordial, be patient, and not forceful. It's your world, so there's laws we abide by. Walk narrow and tell the haters bye-bye. Education is my obligation. Look past the past, ignore your limitations. Goals can be achieved if you believe. Dream to the point that you can't sleep. Dream about the points that you can reach, but don't make promises that you can't keep. Research your problem, get educated, realize the causes of each situation. Hear, embrace, and taste the truth. That's regulations, because I'm living proof. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Our next panelist is Raymond Payton. Raymond is currently serving as a therapist 2 at Prince William Clubhouse in Manassas, Virginia. He is currently working on obtaining supervision and clinical hours to complete his LPC. Raymond has a diverse background, including working with substance abuse, adolescents, trauma, homeless, and in-crisis populations in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. When not at work, he enjoys spending time with his beautiful wife, Cherie, and adorable baby girl, Renaya. Please help me welcome Raymond Payton.
Look, she was sweating because she thought she was going to say my daughter's name wrong. It's okay. She's happy and healthy, that's all that matters, right? And I know what a lot of you people are thinking, that was really Colin Hickman who just got up here and gave that invitation. For me, that represents a lot of what I'm going to talk about right now. Just seeing him get up here and be able to stand and speak in front of you guys means a lot to me personally and professionally. And Colin, I think you got your redemption today, all right? All right, so we're going to talk about purpose. So I see my purpose as being someone who can affect change through positive interactions with others. Right? I went to school, I went and got educated, and these things were great, and they were a very good tool for me to use, but one of the things I noticed was if you can't build relationships with people, you don't have a rapport with people, then anything I can tell you, as many large words that I know, it won't be effective. Right? I saw that my power or my key to help other people was connecting with them, giving an opportunity for people to see me in a professional manner where you can just look and you can say, well, I have a feeling like, this guy's saying something I can connect to, because all this is about is connecting with people, right? And it's important. I said, man, if I can just find a way to give people something that I've learned along the way, they can be successful. So I thought that was my purpose. My purpose is to encourage people, right? And sometimes that means I have to push, right? When people don't like it. If you work with me, I'll probably at one point or another push a little bit. Believe me, it's all for your benefit, I promise you. But I've come to believe that in my world, the failure is not an option. And I try to pass that along to as many people who are willing to listen. Because in reality, everyone has and should have the right to live a happy and successful life based on what they feel their idea of success is. It's not for anybody to tell you. I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe everybody should live well. You want to buy a big house, buy a big house. You want a nice car, buy a nice car. You want to be married, get married. But you have to put in the work to get and maintain these things. And I believe everyone has the right to do that. When it comes to about how I identify my purpose just through my very life experiences. I grew up in an environment where, drugs were prevalent, there was violence, there was crime. I can always use that as an excuse for not being successful, right? But you're gonna always be surrounded by negative and positive influences. At some point, you have to make a decision on what side of the street you wanna stand on. And you're not always gonna get it right? You're not always gonna get it right. You wanna say, I wanna do everything right, you wanna make every good decision. If I can stand here and say I made every great decision in the world, that would be a lie, right? The thing is, you're gonna make mistakes in life. It's that you pick up and you learn from them. That makes you who you are. This is how you're gonna find your purpose in life. A lot of times, people ask me, how am I doing, right? How are you doing? How's everything going? And my response to them is I say, everything is peaceful. Well, how can you say that? Let me explain to you why. I married an awesome woman. I get to go to work and help people with their goals every day, right? And I feel like I walk in my purpose every day, every minute. And it was brought up earlier about not being what you do for a living. Whatever your purpose is in this world, first thing you need to do is probably close your eyes and listen to your heart, because that's going to guide you where you need to go. You're not always going to get it right. In your purpose, you're going to be challenged, right? You're going to feel confrontation in your purpose, And some days, you're going to love to do something, and you're going to want to do it so much, and it's going to feel like it doesn't love you back. You have to make a choice. Is this what I really want to do? But I promise you, if these things happen, if you feel conflict, if you feel confrontation, if you feel challenge, I promise you, you're on the right track to what you want to do. There's going to be some resistance in life. That is life, right? You have to look inside and figure, what is it that I want to do? Let me give you a couple of things you need to ask yourself about if it's your purpose or not. Ask yourself, what makes you happy, right? What do I like? What makes me happy? Ask yourself, what do I feel passionate about? Who inspires me? What do other people ask you a lot of the time that for helping? What do they ask you for help in regards to? This is how you're going to find your purpose. And one thing I say is, ask yourself, if you don't do something in life, what would you regret the most? Because these are the kind of things that make up what your purpose is going to be. And I'll leave it with this. In life, you have to believe in something. If anything you respect about me, anything you think that I say is of any kind of decency, of any type, please remember what I'm about to say. I believe in something I stand for all the time. I'm not always right, not always wrong. But I believe in something I stand for. And I try to bring that out to anybody I come in contact with, not just people I work with, not just clients I come across, but people in everyday life. Believe in something and stand for it. Just make sure what you stand for is something you truly believe in. All right. Now, I'm going to do a public service announcement. Anybody who was listening when they did the intro and they said, about, my wife and everything, like, oh, I'm married, I spend time with my wife and kid, right? All right. Let me say this to you. Has everyone here heard happy life, happy wife? You heard that? You heard that saying? Okay, that's kind of one-sided. Let me help you. Two things. One, learn this saying. If you try to put a bumper sticker on it, I will sue you. It is, have a happy mate and your life will be great. Universal. Happy mate, your life will be great. No, I will sue you. No, listen. And the other thing is I wanted to say this one quick thing about relationships. Because for whatever reason, I've been married. People have been married 10 times longer than me, and they always ask me, it's amazing. I work with all these amazing people, but people always want to ask me about relationships. I'm giving you some very sound advice for free. Any relationship in life that you have, that you want to be successful, you want to be happy, whether it's a marriage relationship, whether it's a friendship relationship, any type of relationship, please remember what I'm about to say. Relationships that last are ones that are mutually beneficial. That means you and the person are both getting something out of it. You can't just take all the time. Give. You'll find a lot more, you'll find you'll get more than you ever thought you would. That's all I have to say. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Raymond. Our next panelist is Mark Armstrong. Mark is a customer service representative, former mental health professional, and someone who genuinely cares about people. Mark is still discovering what he wants to be when he grows up. Please help me welcome Mark Armstrong.
Right, and at 51, I have plenty of time to figure that out, right? Anyway, I discovered my life's purpose back in college in the 1980s. I've been elected the president of an organization, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with it. So I asked a friend of mine who I really respected, Steve Iyer, to help me with it. And what we ended up doing was putting to rest the organization because it was a relic from the past that really didn't need to exist anymore. But Steve and I continued to be friends, and one day we were talking, and Steve said to me, he said, "Mark, did you know you can feel God's presence?" And just like that, did you know you can feel God's presence? And for me, when he said that, it was like a giant spotlight was shining in my heart, and all of a sudden I saw this incredible desire to do just that. Well, it's called different things. One thing is listening prayer, but listening prayer has not come easy for me. For 8 years, I wanted to experience that, and it was difficult. I would walk into a quiet room, and it would feel empty and yucky and gross, and I would think, yuck, get me out of here. It was very frustrating. And during that time, I would call Steve and I would say, "Steve, do you really think it's possible to feel God's presence?" And he would say, "Yes, I believe it is." And what he was saying was basically, I've had that experience before, and I do. And if you don't give up wanting it, then you will when your higher power decides that you're ready. Well, I still remember the day that listening prayer started to work for me. I was sitting in this giant auditorium in Montreat Anderson College, and I attended a function, and everybody had left, and I was the only physical body around, but all of a sudden I didn't feel alone anymore or by myself. And over the years, I've heard other people describe similar situations, saying things like, I was by myself in my room one night, and all of a sudden I wasn't there anymore, or I wasn't alone anymore. Someone else was there with me. The last few years have been difficult for me. During that time, I lost a good paying job. I lost my family to divorce, and I also lost any material possession that really mattered anything to me. But the one thing I haven't lost is a sense of my higher power being with me. Recently, I was talking to my therapist, and I was telling her about some things, and she was doing a great job of summarizing. She was saying, "So you had to adjust to a lot of different things. You've gone through this, you've gone through that, you've been lonely, you had to deal with X, Y, and Z." And I stopped her and I said, "You got it all right except for the lonely part." And it was like I wanted her to tell me what that was like so I could tell her whether I'd actually had that experience or not. And the truth is, I've been really angry, I've been confused, I've been scared to death, but lonely just isn't very high on the list. Henry Nouwen says the difference between loneliness and solitude is God's presence. I find for myself that when I turn that strong desire on something or somebody else, I feel disappointed, distant, and I get enslaved. I turn it on my higher power, and I feel like I at least have the chance, the opportunity to be the human being that I've been made to be. It reminds me of the racehorse Secretariat. Secretariat was the horse that won the Triple Crown in 1973. Secretariat was born to run and born to run fast. And when it came his time to do it, his jockey let him go. He let him run all out. When Secretariat won the Belmont Stakes, he outran the next fastest horse by 31 lengths. When he crossed the finish line of the Belmont Stakes, he was still accelerating. And when I watched that movie, I cried, because for me, it touched that place in my heart that wants my higher power the way that horse wanted to run. All out, full throttle, into overdrive, straight towards the goal. Not looking back, not looking to the left, not looking to the right, but straight towards the one who stole my heart. We're a tired generation, aren't we? Full of muchness and manyness, hassled and hurried, with lots of noise around us and lots of things to do. And for me, in the last couple days, thinking about my purpose has reminded me that I need to be more intentional about getting away from all that and being alone with the one I love the most. Because now, when I'm the only physical body present in a room or somewhere, it doesn't feel yucky to me anymore. It doesn't feel gross. I don't think, get me out of here. The place is filled with someone else's presence besides myself. And I also know in those times and in other times that person fills me too with a joy and happiness that losing everything was not able to take away. Leave you with a quote from, to me, the massive prophet, the prophet Isaiah, who said, "Come, all who are thirsty, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come, buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread and your labor on what does not satisfy? Listen to me, and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest of fare." Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Our next panelist is Dee Dee Crosby. Dee Dee has been a member of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, for 19 years. She has a family member with a mental illness and has found friendship, support, and mentorship, along with humor, in the family support groups through NAMI. Please help me welcome Dee Dee Crosby.
I first want to say I'm really humbled by being part of this panel. It is just blowing my mind. And I'm not going to speak nearly as long as the rest of the ladies and gentlemen have done. Let me see. I have a family member, my son, who has mental illness. And when I was asked to talk on it, I had to think about what my purpose was. And I decided to talk about my purpose is to have a good family life. As a mother and as a grandmother, I needed to provide a good family life for my family. And to do that, I needed serenity, calmness, and steadfastness, and support. And when my son was diagnosed at the age of 14, it was like bottom dropped out of our family. We kind of had this synergy of one went one way, one went the other. One had decided how they were going to fix it. The other decided they were going to participate at all. And I had no serenity, and I had no calmness, and I was trying to control everything. And I can remember so well, my son came to me one day and he said, "Mom, if I'm the one with the mental illness, why are you acting so out of control and so crazy?" And it was true. I was the one that was stressed out and going crazy, and he was kind of handling it pretty well. He had counseling, he had medications, and he was doing great. So I reached out to NAMI, and NAMI was like finding a life raft out in an ocean of turmoil. Through NAMI, I found that I was not alone in what was going on. If you look at the American population, if you believe the statistics, there's 1 in 4 that has a mental illness. So there's a lot of us out there, and there's a lot of us trying to support people with mental illness. And so there I found a kindred spirit where I could share what was happening in my life and in a safe environment and find coping skills through what they had gone through, and we were able to talk about it. I discovered what was really kind of important. The things that I would argue with my son about and try to pull him into maybe wasn't important. And when you take it out and looked at it, it wasn't important at all. And to find out that you don't have to have a victor in every confrontation. It's okay to have a draw. It's okay to walk away. And I learned how to communicate with him better and not to be telling him what to do, but to share and to listen and to validate where he was coming from. Even if it didn't make any sense to me, it was very important for him to let me know what was going on with him. I also found a lot of humor. I had forgotten how to laugh. I had forgotten to enjoy life. And with my family members in NAMI, we laugh a lot. We cry a lot. We mourn over things that we wish we had, but we celebrate the victories too, and the blessings of life. And we look at the small things and think that maybe they're not so small after all. I would share with you that if you're a family member, that you may try to come to one of our NAMI group meetings. It's so freeing and enlightening to go. You can learn a lot. We have one a month on this side of in Centera and one in Manassas, and I would enjoy seeing you guys there. I don't know where my family would be, to tell you the truth, if I hadn't found NAMI, or where I would be. And the serenity that I found there. For advice that I would give you would be to take care of yourself, learn some coping skills, learn about your loved one, accept them where they are, and find someone to share your thoughts with. And for me, I found that through NAMI. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Rounding out our panel is Shannon Scheid. Shannon is an attorney and retired U.S. Marine Corps Reserve Lieutenant Colonel. Shannon is a renowned author of the book, It Will Be Okay, How I Kept Obsessive-compulsive Disorder from Ruining My Life. Shannon serves as an officer on the board of directors of the International OCD Foundation. Please help me welcome Shannon Scheid.
I am not going to stand behind the podium. I'm going to talk. I'm going to wind this up. So, how's everybody doing? Great. All right, we're going to start with this. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and I never talk to people without talking about my daughter. We were down in D.C. with my family, so I have my wife, my 2 older boys. My 10-year-old was a surprise visit from the stork. So my oldest boy's 23, the next one's 19, and now Sam's 10. So when she was 5, we were down in D.C. walking around, and my wife and the 2 boys wanted to go to the crime museum. And I didn't think it was appropriate to take Sammy in there. I said, so, you and I can hang out. And we were walking around DC, and she goes, "Dad, I've got to go to the bathroom." And I'm like, "Oh no." So we ducked into a restaurant, and I took her into the men's room, went back into the stall, and she did her business, and she was a little bit alarmed about being in the men's room, but she got over that. She had to go. And so I'm trying to help her button her pants, and all of a sudden, the outer door to the bathroom opens up, and she goes like, "Oh, no." And then all of a sudden, she goes, "Hey, Dad, I'm just trying to button my pants." She said, she whispered, she goes, "I'm trying to sound like a boy so they don't think there's any girls in here." All right, how about a big round of applause for all of our panelists? You know, we can weave a common theme. We can weave a common theme through everything we said. Cynthia talked about, if you're committed to your purpose, opportunities present themselves. Chan said, if you go to bed thinking about something and you wake up thinking about it, then that's what you need to be doing, right? Vicki talked about courage, and there's a reason why you are here. Colin talked about reason and support, and he talked about, and I wrote this one down, he said, you can recover and have purpose. How powerful is that statement? You can recover and have purpose. Raymond said, believe in something and stand for it. Believe in something and stand for it. How powerful is that? We go to Mark, he talks about God's presence. The difference between being lonely and solitude, and letting that drive you. And then we get to Dee Dee, and she said, Nami was a life raft in an ocean of turmoil. And don't forget that, because I'm going to use it when we get to the end of what I'm talking about. Why am I standing up here? I grew up, I was a very outgoing kid. I had four sisters. I grew up in high school. I was an athlete, played football, I wrestled. I was a president of the student council. Went to college, I wrestled in college. I went to law school. I was president of the student bar. I joined the Marines. I was always a leader. I was always doing something in the service of others. And I never really intended that was going to be a purpose, but it turns out that's my purpose. In 1992, when I was 29 years old, I started having weird thoughts. I started doing odd things like turning my car around and going back to check things. And I'm thinking, let's just stress, I'm a Marine lawyer, busy. Fast forward 5 years, turns out I had obsessive-compulsive disorder, and it finally grounded me to a halt. It affected me every waking moment. In the book that I wrote, and I'll get back to that, I categorized the very different ways into 16 different categories of how OCD got me. I would see something on the side of the road, and I would recognize it for what it was, like a log. OCD would come in and say, that wasn't a log. That was a person bleeding to death back there. And it's as real as you could possibly ever imagine having the thought. And so what happens, you get this compulsion, and OCD tells you, you just go back and check. Just make sure, you don't want to leave somebody bleeding to death back there. So you turn your car around and you go look. You see it's a log, drive away, the anxiety goes down, and then boom, right back up, OCD says, well, you didn't look well enough. You didn't look well enough. And you're thinking, I know that was a log. And then OCD started telling you, look, you're a Marine officer. If that person dies, you're going to be shamed. You're going to go to jail for the rest of your life. And it was like that every waking moment of the day. So finally, in 1997, I was driving to work. I thought I heard something like a piece of lumber falling. I was driving in my car. I was at an intersection, like 5:30 in the morning, and I heard this piece of lumber drop. OCD tells me it's a gunshot. And then all of a sudden, I found myself in this world of, oh my God, there's got to be somebody dying over there, bleeding to death. Then I thought I saw a perpetrator. And then I'm driving around for about 45 minutes. I finally go to 2 police officers and I was very, humiliated and embarrassed because I was slamming my fist on the dashboard, cussing, saying, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I told the police, I said, it's probably nothing, but I think I may have heard a gunshot about 45 minutes ago. And they're like looking at me like I was from Mars. And they said, look, this is Jacksonville, North Carolina. If there was a gunshot, we'd know about it. And at that moment, I knew my life needed to change. OCD had boiled down my choices to 3. I could live like this forever, and that wasn't an option for me. On the other end of the spectrum, for 2 years straight, every day, I thought about committing suicide. I had 2 little boys, and I knew that wasn't an option, thank God. And the other one was go be seen by a mental health professional. And OCD told me, but if you do, guess what? The Marines are going to kick you out. You're going to lose your ability to practice law anywhere, and you're going to lose your family. And I said, something has to change. So I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to be seen. That's the best bad option for me. So fast forward, I finally got treatment. I called a psychiatrist that day. I outranked him, and so I yelled at him and said, I said, I don't trust you. If you diagnose me with something, you better be right. And so then he gave me, he actually wrote out his diagnosis, called me back the next day. It was 4 pages long. He goes, I want you to read this because I'm diagnosing you with a severe case of OCD. And I said, I don't need to read it. He goes, no, I want you to read it. And so I'm starting to read it, and he got some things wrong. And I go, well, you got this wrong, you got this wrong. And he goes, I was just trying to give you the general idea so that you knew, And I said, hey, you're the one who gave a report to somebody with OCD to review. So I tried to have a good attitude, but I got worse before I got better. The day after I got diagnosed, I went to the bookstore and I started reading about OCD, and I read 2 things. The first demoralized me. It said OCD can't be cured. I went, oh God, I'm going to live like this forever. The next one, they said people with OCD can have violent and sexual thoughts about children. And that devastated me because I had never had one. And I thought, I can't think like this. And if you know anything about the world of OCD, as soon as you say it, I'm not going to think that thought, guess what happens? Right. So on the way home, I was thinking, think good thoughts. And I got to the point, where I almost called the police on myself because all I could do was think these horrible thoughts. And I went into the house, and I was heading towards the garage because that's where I was going to live. And my boys, 5 and 1, they were playing in the toy room, and my 5-year-old calls me back, and I'm thinking, oh God, I can't go back there, and I'm thinking, think good thought. I go into the room, and the first thing I do is I imagine myself kicking my 1-year-old in the head. I will never, ever forget the shame that I felt that day. I yelled out, my wife came, and she said, what's wrong? And I said, I just imagined myself kicking Andrew. And I go, I'm leaving. I'm going to leave. I'm going to get a hotel. I don't know that I won't do this. She goes, this was the first person that saved my life that day. She said, we know that you're not that person. It has to be OCD. You're not going to go anywhere. We're going to deal with this together. And so I went through treatment, and miraculously, I developed a strategy that I call ground rules and checkpoints that I am now symptom-free. I haven't seen a doctor or taken medication since 2003. And again, the reason I'm standing right here is I just wanted to go back to being me. Part of my strategy was I treated OCD as something separate from me. And when I got well, I said, I don't want to be associated with OCD. I don't want anybody to know that I have it. I just want to be me. And that was kind of selfish, but I just wanted to be me. 2006, I'm having dinner with a woman in California. She knew me for a long time, and she confided. She goes, I've got this thing called OCD, and it's killing me. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to tell her. And so I told her how I did it. And she wrote me back about 6 months later and she goes, "You've changed my life. You need to tell your story." And so then I wrote the first book. And then now I'm involved with the International OCD Foundation. I got involved with Trillium here, a wonderful organization, wonderful people. So what does all this have to do with purpose? I know now that God put me on this earth to help people, to reach out. I work with youth in the youth football world. I run a Facebook page called OCD Can Be Defeated. I'm living proof, and it's followed like in 45 countries. And I spend an enormous amount of my time now reaching out. I will tell you this, in trying to find your own purpose, you don't really have to look hard, right?